What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today when I talk to you about SoundHound, I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound is up 4.37%, 1196 the low, 1278 the high. A lot of good volume, so 40 million shares being traded, 39 is the average. A couple different attributing factors on why SoundHound is moving higher today. One is just data. So we did have relatively good data. So retail sales, manufacturing, and also initial jobless claims came in better than anticipated. So the market actually is taking this positive data as a positive. I know that sounds very weird, but lately the market's actually wanted misses on data to justify an earlier rate cut. But over the last couple of trading days, I feel like the market has scrapped the idea of a sooner rate cut and has somewhat accepted a September/October rate cut. So at the end of the day, definitely very welcoming to see the positive data actually be positively interpreted in the broader market. Aside from that though, one thing that I feel like is also giving SoundHound a nice push higher is because of Lucid. So another stock I do cover, I have a whole dedicated channel to that, but Lucid, 𝗪𝗧𝗧𝗛, and Uber did partner, and this is going to be for the next generation autonomous robotaxis. So it looks like Lucid is going to be kind of issuing between, or I guess over 20,000 vehicles to Uber, part of this autonomous program. So what does that mean, and how does SoundHound loop into this? So in case you do not know, Lucid did disclose roughly about 3-4 months ago their partnership with SoundHound, and going forward all vehicles are going to have SoundHound. So it's just a kind of initial phase of it, but there's going to be further updates as what was mentioned in SoundHound's last earnings. So if you're going to have potentially over a dozen markets, 20,000+ Lucids all having SoundHound, and having all these new individuals experiencing it for the first time potentially, you are going to get a lot of attention, right? And you never know, just word of mouth might spread. So I think this is very good marketing for SoundHound, and even just generally speaking, I think this could potentially open it up to new partnerships. So again, indirectly, I think SoundHound is benefiting from this news just based on their partnership with Lucid. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Aside from that, there hasn't been all that much in news from SoundHound today. No SEC filings, no new partnerships, and as well, no new articles really coming out. So it's just been piggybacking off the broader market, as well as its technicals look pretty good. So moving over to some of the data, shorts right now are increasing 507,000 shares. 33.39% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 120 million shares overall are being shorted. So this is rather crazy. I saw some comments in my last SoundHound video, just the fact that, like, how can SoundHound be 33% shorted? That's insane. And I think in reality, shorts are very overextended with SoundHound, and all it will take is no different than, for instance, Lucid. Lucid as well is very heavily shorted. Similarly, I think they're at 31% short interest, and they put out a good PR, and it went up so far 37.99%. So it's pretty interesting, but I think no matter what, this type of push could also happen to SoundHound. It just needs to really put out a substantial deal. And so they did put out some news yesterday, caused SoundHound to really push higher. But if you put out like a monumental type of deal, such as McDonald's, this is kind of what you can expect as far as price action. So shorts can continue to do what they do, but it's, in my opinion, I think it's just a matter of time before SoundHound does really move higher. That's just my opinion, of course. You guys do your own due diligence and all the other fun jazz. Looking at the options, 13 million in calls, 2.4 million in puts. 50% of all the options being done today are bullish in nature. So there's a little bit more anticipated push higher. From the bulls standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be above that 13, and then the bears for it to be sub roughly between that 12 and 1250. So pretty much where we're at, meaning there is more upside anticipated. With tomorrow being Friday, just take note of this. So this chain is a monthly chain, very popular stuff. So you have 14,000 at that 10, 15,000 at that 11, 25,000 at that 12, and pretty much then you have 14,000 at the 13. So in best case scenario, SoundHound will close above 13 or even above 1250. But regardless, I think given the circumstances, you could see a nice gamma squeeze going into this next week, assuming it can hold this general price level. So let me know your viewpoint on that. But aside from that, these are all the transactions that have occurred on the secondary market above $100,000. So a lot of big money is getting into SoundHound, and this is exactly the price action that you get when you have a increase in capital. So that's always very welcomed. And of the volume today, I think majority is actually coming from institutions trading it rather than algorithmic trading. So I've already kind of expressed my kind of viewpoint on that, on how I don't really like algorithmic trading. But even looking at the dark pool, a lot of big transactions today. So this is often enough used by shorts and other large entities. So it goes to show that hedge funds are trading SoundHound. So again, kind of a positive. With it right now at 1231, it is trading right now between this R1 and the pivot. 1182 is a strong support, wasn't tested today, so that's going to be something to watch for in the next couple trading days. And then 1294 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So today it kind of just traded wedge bound between these 2 points. One thing to take note of though is we have a lot of big data tomorrow. So we have building permits, starts, and then Michigan consumer sentiment. So you had somewhat mixed data. PPI was relatively positive, CPI was relatively negative. I think this might be the deciding point for the week. Current forecast is 60.5. Last couple of reports of this has been relatively positive, so that is going to be most likely what either pushes it above this R1 or potentially below this pivot point. So just keep that in mind. Aside from all that fun stuff on the actual chart, it's still looking pretty a-okay above all the key pivotal moving averages because of the recent pull lower. Stochastic RSI is still considered neutral, but you are starting to see a nice reversal starting to happen. So kind of the blue line above the orange. So that's relatively a good thing. So what's your viewpoint on SoundHound? Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with it behind the scenes? Lately, I haven't really been doing all that much. As I've mentioned, I think a couple of videos back, if it was to get to that $10 range, that's where I'll be starting to sell puts again. So if it does dip below that strike price, then I get to buy it at that price. It's a good way of getting a deal in the market, but let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. One final thing, if you are looking for some solid buy signals, pop over to my Patreon. I can buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. I actually did signal SoundHound as a day trade yesterday. So if you would have actually followed through with that, you would be pretty much of a significant amount, but nonetheless, definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.